Hey, a B minus. It's decent.
Decent? If NASA scientists got B minuses, the space shuttle wouldn't get past Cleveland. Sorry, Zack.
One of them was diagnosed with cancer and dead within 3 weeks. And one of them spent years disappearing mid-sentence in interviews, hearing voices nobody else could hear, while her castmates quietly stopped inviting her to things. But you know what's even crazier? The show was called Saved by the Bell. Not all of them were. Dustin Diamond was 12 years old when he first played Screech Powers on Good Morning, Miss Bliss in 1988. By the time Saved by the Bell ended in 1993, he'd spent 5 years as the most recognizable nerd on American Saturday morning television. He was 17. And from that point forward, almost everything went wrong. The rest of the cast moved into adult careers, bigger shows, bigger films, bigger profiles. Diamond stayed Screech. He did celebrity boxing, he appeared on Celebrity Big Brother and Celebrity Fit Club. In 2006, he released a sex tape. He told Oprah years later he wasn't actually in it, that a body double's face had been superimposed, but the damage was done.
Okay, well, we good? Oh, hey, hey.
Hey, what are you doing?
All right, ladies, I am inspecting your room. Oh, hey, the D-Man. What's up? What's up, D-Man?
In 2009, he published a memoir called Behind the Bell that painted almost every one of his co-stars in an unflattering light. Mark-Paul Gosselaar, Mario Lopez, and others publicly disputed his claims. When the cast reunited for a People magazine photo shoot that same year, Diamond wasn't invited. The official reason was scheduling. Nobody believed it. In December 2014, he was arrested in Wisconsin after a bar altercation in which a man was stabbed. Diamond was convicted of carrying a concealed weapon.
Also breaking at this hour, Dustin Diamond, also known as Screech from the TV show Saved by the Bell, is behind bars again.
Diamond was booked into the Ozaukee County Jail earlier today, accused of violating his probation.
He maintained he hadn't stabbed anyone, that he'd pulled the knife to protect his girlfriend, and it had been taken from him during the scuffle. He served 3 months in jail. In 2018, he moved to Florida. In January 2021, he checked into a hospital in Florida complaining of pain all over his body and a general sense of illness he couldn't explain. The diagnosis came back as stage 4 small cell carcinoma, a rare, aggressive cancer that had already spread throughout his system. 3 weeks later, on February 1st, 2021, Dustin Diamond was dead. He was 44 years old.
Dustin Diamond has lost his battle with lung cancer. E! News can confirm the Saved by the Bell star has passed away due to carcinoma. He was just 44 years old.
His girlfriend was by his side. His former castmates were not. His management released a statement that called him a humorous and high-spirited individual whose greatest passion was to make others laugh, and acknowledged that most people didn't think of him that way. "We wish you knew him in the way that we did," they wrote. In 2026, Dustin Diamond would have been 48 years old. He is the only member of the main Saved by the Bell cast who did not make it to middle age. Lark Voorhies was 14 when Saved by the Bell began. She was the show's original female lead, the one the whole premise had initially been built around, in Good Morning, Miss Bliss. By the time the show ended, she was one of the most recognizable teenage actresses in the country. Then the calls stopped. Around 2012, something became publicly visible that people close to her had been quietly aware of for some time. Interviews started surfacing where Voorhies would stop mid-sentence and stare blankly into the distance, sometimes mumbling to herself. Some people assumed drugs. Her mother came forward and said she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Voorhies denied it. The cast had already begun quietly distancing themselves. The reunions, the dinners, the photo shoots all happened without her. When 4 of the 6 main cast members gathered to celebrate 30 years of friendship in 2019, Lark Voorhies was not there. Neither was Dustin Diamond, but for entirely different reasons. In February 2020, Voorhies went on The Doctor, Oz show, and finally named it herself schizoaffective thought disorder, a condition that combines symptoms of schizophrenia and mood disorder, including auditory hallucinations. She told Doctor, "Oz, the voices were multiple and persistent. It just goes on and on and on," she said. She also read from a journal entry she'd written about the reboot she hadn't been invited to join. "I have to admit, I did feel a bit slighted and hurt when I was not invited to be part of the Saved by the Bell reunion," she read. "Yet, of course, I also realized that having this puzzling disorder may have played a major part in that factual decision. The grace of that sentence, the self-awareness inside the pain was striking. The Dr. Oz appearance worked. The producers of the Peacock reboot reached out. She appeared in one episode as Lisa Turtle. Elizabeth Berkley called her beforehand and sent flowers." In 2026, Lark Voorhies is 51 years old. She has been battling lupus alongside her schizoaffective disorder. She writes novels, she keeps working. She has been doing that longer than anyone has given her credit for. Mark-Paul Gosselaar was 15 when Saved by the Bell began. His hair was bleached blonde for every episode, a wig in later years. He played Zack Morris as though it was effortless, which was the point. Zack was the guy who made everything look easy. Gosselaar was a different animal. He was methodical, ambitious, and clearly uncomfortable spending his entire career answering questions about a character he'd played as a teenager. He went straight from Bayside to NYPD Blue, 4 seasons of one of the most serious dramas on American television, playing a detective named John Clark Jr. with nothing resembling a freeze-frame monologue. Then Commander-in-Chief alongside Gina Davis, then Franklin and Bash, which ran for 4 seasons and gave him a platform as a lead in a legal comedy that had nothing to do with his past. He married model Lisa Ann Russell in 1996, divorced in 2011, and married advertising executive Catriona McGinn the following year. He has 4 children between the 2 marriages. He is also, somewhat improbably, a licensed pilot and a competitive cyclist. He came back for the Peacock reboot in 2020 as Governor Zack Morris, the punchline being that, of course, Zack Morris grew up to be a corrupt, entitled politician. He played it with obvious enjoyment. He also launched a podcast called Zack to the Future, which brought him back into conversations with Thiessen and others, and turned out to be more honest about the SBTB years than anything any of them had said on camera before. In 2026, Mark-Paul Gosselaar is 52 years old. He has built the longest and most varied career of anyone in this cast. Zack Morris is part of it, but only part. Mario Lopez was born to play A.C. Slater. He was already a drummer and a trained dancer from Kids Incorporated when he auditioned at 16. He was cast because he was simply the best person who walked through the door, more physical presence, more charm, more natural timing than anyone else they'd seen. He has carried that energy for 35 years without apparent interruption. After the show, he hosted shows, appeared in Broadway productions, wrote fitness books, got divorced once, got married again, had 3 children, and became one of the most consistently employed people in television. He has been a host on Access Hollywood since 2008. He has hosted The X Factor. He does not appear to have had a difficult decade at any point. This is, in the context of this cast, almost statistically improbable. In 2026, Mario Lopez is 52 years old. He is in better physical shape than most people half his age. He is the least complicated story in this cast, which, given everything else going on, might be exactly what made him the most durable. Elizabeth Berkley was the strongest actress in the Saved by the Bell audition room. The producers have said so on record. She was taller than the male lead, which initially cost her the Kelly Kapowski role. They created Jessie Spano around her instead, and she made Jessie the most interesting character on the show. The feminist, the overachiever, the one who had the breakdown. The caffeine pill episode is still one of the most replayed scenes in the show's history. In 1995, she was cast as the lead in Showgirls Paul Verhoeven's film about a Las Vegas showgirl, full of nudity and explicit content. It was the highest profile NC-17 film ever released, and when it opened, the reviews were devastating. It was called one of the worst films of the decade. Berkley's performance was singled out as either courageous or catastrophic depending on who was writing. The film killed the part of her career that was supposed to come next. She spent years rebuilding through television work, CSI, The L Word, NYPD Blue, and through a book she published called Ask Elizabeth, directed at teenage girls navigating confidence and self-worth. The irony of that subject matter? given what the industry had done to her confidence, was not lost on anyone. The rehabilitation of Showgirls as a cult film took about 20 years, and Berkley has lived long enough to watch it happen. She has described it in recent years as a film she is proud of. She came back for the Peacock reboot with unmistakable energy. She was the one who called Lark Voorhies, who sent the flowers, who made sure the cast was actually whole. In 2026, Elizabeth Berkley is 53 years old. She is one of the warmest people in this story, which is not something you would have predicted in 1995. Tiffani Thiessen was the producer's second choice for Kelly Kapowski. Elizabeth Berkley had been considered first. Thiessen got it because the creator felt she had the right all-American warmth for the role. She played Kelly for 4 seasons, then did something that almost no one saw coming. She walked straight on to Beverly Hills 90210 as Valerie Malone, the new bad girl, morally complicated, sexually forward. Nothing like Kelly Kapowski in any recognizable way. It was a deliberate choice, and it worked. She dated her Saved by the Bell co-stars during the run, first Gosselaar, then Lopez, and described their Paris press tour together as one of the formative experiences of her teenage years. Her first drink was with Gosselaar in France at 16. She has spoken about the boyfriend she lost to suicide in 1999, David Strickland, whom she'd been close to. She married actor Brady Smith in 2005, and they have 2 children. She hosted dinner at Tiffani's on the Cooking Channel from 2015 to 2017. She has been quietly one of the most consistently working actresses of her generation without ever quite being in the spotlight. She came back for the Peacock reboot in 2020. She has spoken about how strange it is to watch a character you played at 16 become someone that other people define you by. How Kelly Kapowski is still the first thing most people say when they meet her. In 2026, Tiffani Thiessen is 52 years old. She is the all-American girl who made a deliberate career out of being something more complicated than that. Most people still only remember Kelly. She has long since moved on. Saved by the Bell ran for 4 seasons and ended in 1993. It spawned 2 spin-offs, a TV movie and a Peacock reboot that ran from 2020 to 2021. It made 6 teenagers into household names across America, and then sent them out into the world with that weight attached to them permanently. One of them is dead at 44. One of them spent years disappearing while her castmates had dinner without her. One of them starred in the most critically savage film of the 1990s and spent 2 decades watching it become a cult classic. And one of them was simply the most consistently employed person in the room every single year because the dimples never let up. The show was called Saved by the Bell. Not all of them were. Bayside High, class of 1989.